how do you be less socially awkward? I know a lot of people. I know a lot of introverts struggle with being awkward, and I know I was an awkward person too, and I hated being awkward. And I know you guys. If you consider yourself socially awkward, you would hate being awkward too. Like it's so embarrassing and so humiliating when you give an awkward response, and in that moment, and it just feels awful. Like you feel ashamed, and you don't really understand why you're awkward. And I'm going to explain why people are socially awkward and how to overcome awkwardness. So, awkwardness comes from responding with logic, believe it or not. And I know that sounds so weird to say, so ironic, because you logically try to think of the best answer possible to the conversation, or the best response possible, but when you do that, you give an awkward response, and that person doesn't know how to react, and then they look at you sideways because you give an awkward logical response, and it typically ends the conversation. The conversation doesn't really go anywhere after that. So to be less socially awkward, respond with emotions more than logic. And if you don't have the energy to respond with emotions, then don't respond at all. Express that you're tired and you don't feel like talking. Just tell that person, hey, I don't feel like expressing my emotions. Hey, I just don't feel like talking today. I just want to be I just want to be to myself. Just tell that person. People understand. We've all been there. Like we all understand what it's like to not have the energy to socialize and just wanting to just be in your head. There's nothing wrong with that. Just let the person know. Don't give an awkward response, because I would try to logically think of the best answer when I didn't have the energy to be emotional. I would try to logically think of the best response, because I didn't want that other person to feel bad, so I would logically think of the best response. So, but it just made it awkward, and I embarrassed myself, and it didn't make the other person feel better either. So it's like responding with logic is going to make your conversations more awkward than it needs to be. And there's nothing wrong with having logical conversations, talking about logical debates and logical topics. There's nothing wrong with that. If you can try to talk about logical things with emotion as much as possible, as I'm doing with this YouTube channel, but there's nothing wrong with having these logical quick conversations. But you need to keep in mind that majority of people aren't logical. Majority of people are emotional. Majority of people don't care about logical things. Like, majority of people don't like having logical conversations. Majority of people like responding with emotions. So if you can't respond with emotions, just express that you don't. Just express that you're tired. That is responding with emotions. When you express that you're tired, that's an emotion. You're telling that other person, hey, I'm tired. I just don't feel like, talking. And that's perfectly understandable. And nobody, like I said, nobody's gonna judge you for that. And you just need to let the other person know, so you don't embarrass yourself. In order to overcome awkwardness, respond with emotions more than logic. And don't use your logical thinking and conversations and socializing, and unless you're around another logical thinker and y'all are like debating about something logical, that's perfectly fine. But like I said, majority of people aren't logical, majority of people are emotional. So you typically want to put yourself in an emotional state when you're like in a public setting, or like a party or something like that, because you're not going to be logical at a party, you're not going to be logical at a club, you're not going to be logical at like, the only way you're going to be logical in a conversation is if you're at a debate, or if you're maybe on a podcast or something like along those lines. But you would want to typically try to keep as much logic away from the conversation as possible, and respond with as much emotion as possible. It makes the conversation more engaging, and it keeps both of y'all present, and makes both of y'all enjoying talking to each other. And yeah, so that's basically how you overcome social awkwardness. I've struggled with it for years, and I never understood why I struggle with awkwardness. I never understood why I struggle with awkwardness until a few weeks ago. And I suddenly got it. Oh, I just need to respond with emotions and not logic, and let people know that if I don't feel like responding with emotions, I just let the people know that I'm tired. And that's all I had to do, and I made that switch in my brain. And now I really haven't embarrassed myself or said anything awkward recently, and I'm kind of happy about that. I'm actually really happy about that. And yeah, and I just wanted to make this video because I know a lot of introverts, they struggle with awkwardness, and I know and I know you guys would want to learn how to overcome it. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the video, guys. I hope you guys found it interesting, and yeah, hopefully y'all got some value from it, and I'll see you on the next one.